so let's start the day with Euro AUD. Alright, again, today is a Monday. There might not be volume. The volume might be wonky, so if you can't find any setups and you're not comfortable with trading on Mondays, then stay out of it, okay? But this is just a guide for you that if you want to enter, you can monitor these zones for potential entries, okay? So starting with EA, we have a sell zone up here and engulfing sell. Then we have a potential buy zone down here, which was an engulfing sell, finally broke, becoming an engulfing fail. Price came back, closed within the zone, then created an engulfing buy. Okay, current price is over here. So what can it do? H4 just closed an hour-ish ago. So either we wait for this H4 to close and see where it goes, whether it retraces back up to this key level or it will shoot down into this key level. Okay, we do have somewhat of a news, I think, for Euro today on Forex Factory. I'm not really sure, but you can check it out on forexfactory.com if you want to, just to get some volume in the direction that you want the price or the pair to move. Okay, so what can EA do? Get out my pencil. Let's delete this real quick. So what can EA do? EA, current price is here. If it decides, whether it be this H4 or the next H4, the H4 to come during this day, if it decides to retrace back up into our sell key level, H4 has to close within the zone first to lower your risk, then create an engulfing sell to do that, right? For confirmation in the higher time frame that we do have sellers present and they are trying their best to have the price lower than this zone. Alright, so if H4 decides to come up into the zone, close within, then you can switch down to M5 or 15 to try to find a setup. Because if it does that, then potentially you can catch a sell back down. If it breaks above, then it might want to test a higher zone. After breaking, it could shoot up in one go up to the next level if the volume is high enough, or retrace back into the key level for a better buy up. Okay, vice versa. If it decides to drop down into our buy zone and respects it, then potentially we can catch a buy back up. But if it breaks below, then it might want to test a lower area. Okay, so wait for H4 to close first to lower your risk in entering the trade. Excuse me. Then you can switch down to M5 or M15. Either of the time frames will work, but try to go for M15 first if you can find a setup. If you can't, then you switch down to M5 to find a setup. Alright? If you can't, but you still want to enter, know that it will be high risk because although it's in a higher time frames zone, you have no entry to make it a precise entry, and the price might float around and move around. You'll be floating quite a bit before it actually creates a setup further down the day. Okay? So that is for EA. Next we have GJ. Now I picked GJ because GJ moves a lot, so hopefully we can potentially catch something if it happens and if it allows us. So sell zone, buy zone. We have two key levels in GJ because H4 zone is quite big. Alright, and because it does have two key levels, meaning this will be a lower risk because price is higher, meaning if you get it from here, you will be running in more profits and you will decrease your SL. But if you enter from here and decides to come up to here, you might be floating if you have no SL, or it might hit your SL before touching this and going down the direction. So this is up to your risk appetite and how you want to manage your account. If you want to catch the ride when it comes in here for a sell, you may, but bear in mind that you might lose some if it decides to come back up here. Okay, so our sell zone up here is an engulfing buy that failed, price came back, created an engulfing sell. Then for the buy zone, we have an engulfing buy that kept the price above this zone all the way for almost around 800 pips, okay, close to 800 pips. So that's why we are going to monitor this zone, because after that, price came down, closed within, got a reaction from the key level and shot up. Okay, and if this H4 still decides to create a blue and close above this this sell candle's high, this zone will become an engulfing buy, meets an engulfing buy. So what can GJ do? Now, we will wait. If it decides to come up into our sell zone and respects that, again, we can catch a potential sell. But if it breaks above, then it might want to test a higher area or a higher zone. Vice versa, if it decides to drop down into our buy zone and respects it, then potentially we can catch a buy back up. But if it breaks below, then it might want to test a lower area. Okay, so you can catch an entry after M5 or M15 setup has formed. Then you enter a trade. Where to place SL is after you enter, count 40 pips from your entry to give the pair a bit of space to move around before going in the direction that you want it to, or you are hoping it might. Okay, so that's for GJ. Now, last but not least, we have GU. Very popular pair. Okay, sell zone, buy zone. Sell zone is an engulfing buy that failed. Price came back, closed within, and created an engulfing sell. So you have your FEG sell. Then we have an engulfing sell that failed. Right, it failed from this gap, but we have no data from here. This sell candle decided to drop down, create an engulfing buy. So you already have your FEG buy. After that, tapped in the key level and respected. So currently it's just going in sideways, and it will continue to go in a sideways until one of the zones break in H4. Okay, so if it breaks above, then it will continue to go up potentially, or if it breaks below, then it will just drop to the next zone. Okay, price travels from zone to zone, but everything is a potential, nothing is 100%. So you have to think of your chances and pick the battles that you want to risk your capital in. Okay, so sell zone, buy zone, what can GU do? Again, I have to zoom out quite a bit, but let's see, current price, again, over here. Because it's so close to our buy zone, there's a potential that it might retrace back down into the key level of the buy zone in H4, and if H4 respects it, then potentially we can catch a buy back up. If it breaks below, then it might want to test a lower area. Vice versa, if it decides to shoot all the way up, which I doubt it will on this Monday, because it needs a bit of volume and we don't really have any news to push GBP or USD pairs to move a lot. Okay, but it's something that we can monitor the movement for throughout the week. Okay, so if it decides to shoot up into our sell zone and potentially respects it, then we might catch a sell back down. If it breaks above, meaning the candle closes above the zone, then we might be able to wait for the next sell opportunity up top, or wait for the price to retrace back down into the key level for a better buy. Okay, for your TPs, set it where it is comfortable and feels easy for you to make. If you are comfortable with making 20 pips, then your first TP can be 20 pips. Then you space it out 20, 30, 40 or 20, 40, 60, however you want it to be. After hitting your first TP, then you set break even to protect your capital. As it moves along in the direction that you want it to, keep adjusting your BE so you can protect both your capital and potential profits. Okay, that's it for the 3 pairs. Trade smart, trade wisely. It's a Monday. I'm not going to be trading. That's just part of my trading plan. So I'm going to get back to messaging and replying to your messages.